Hingle McCringleberry.
Seesaw gave him a little bit of leeway, but it was again all just poorly acted, poorly choreographed, and in no way added any. It was literally for both movies 4.5 minutes that added nothing to either plot.
It gave us the line in our podcast, "No rules on a seesaw." That's pretty good. That's giving us something.
It's giving us the name of the episode, right? I mean, that's the.
Then once we kind of go through the comic, what we established as one, then we'll kind of go through the list of our own, what we found is, really shitty comic book movies personally. I think Jonah Hex is up there for a lot of us. Catwoman, I really wanted to talk about. We can probably do a whole pod on just Catwoman alone, the Halle Berry version. And then after that, we'll just kind of hopefully come to a general consensus on, the one that we all four agree upon is really shitty. And if you're starting to say Man of Steel, Ken, I'm going to punch you in your mouth digitally.
Thankfully, the technology isn't there yet that Jason's looking for, because he's already brought that up.
I can't even wait for you to hear the B-roll right now, Kareem. I can't even wait for you to hear it.
Me too. I'm looking forward to it.
All right.
So anyways, since we all agree, it is Man of Steel.
Said,
it is the worst comic book movie of our modern era.
That is a dumb bad take. I don't even like Man of Steel. That is a dumb bad take.
I'm sorry. It's a Superman movie that kids can't watch. That is horseshit and bad filmmaking for a Superman movie. If you'd put that movie out as kids can watch a lot of things. It's questionable whether they should or not. So the point being is that if you would have made that film as like, oh, this is Ultraman, or this is not to be confused with Ultraman from Japan, but Ultraman from DC Comics, that would be fine.
You've already set yourself into a paradox.
You're not helping your argument right now. You're not helping.
It's not an irredeemable movie. That's my point.
Is this show we just start with all the hot takes right now?
Yeah,
that's generally how it goes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'm gonna throw this out there because I'm the new kid. I don't think the Spirit was that bad.
All right, I'm gonna close up shop. Podcast is done. Thanks for ruining our endeavor.
So,
son of a bitch.
Is your favorite part the wooden dialogue, the poor acting, or Sam Jackson dressed as a Nazi?
Okay,
where is your...
None of those, because that third one, my wife is Jewish, so I would never be able to come back home ever again.
Not great.
Guten Tag.
Okay, so my argument for the Spirit, is that everybody in that film tried their absolute best with what they had. My issue with the film is that we never, this is like a Dr. Claw scenario where we're never supposed to see the bad guy. Okay, and then you cast Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson could never be like a voice actor or like anything like this because we have to see him. As an audience, we are entitled and we are excited to see him at this point, right?
Hold on. I feel like The Incredibles would have a word with you.
Okay, well, but even his design was pretty close to Samuel L. Jackson. And So, that being said,
we met Frozone right off the bat. Like Frozone is presented.
Cut out all of the times that Samuel L. Jackson showed up and he was in it, and then reform that film into the Spirit. And then you get a pretty mediocre noir film that's like a worse Sin City. Right.
So your argument is
Sin City wasn't that good either.
Your argument is recut the whole film into a different movie and it's okay.
My argument is that it's not as bad as we think it is.
He's not saying that it's not bad. It's just
it's terrible.
This is very much the reasoning behind the Snyder cut of like, I could make it better. I'm not going to make it good, but I could make it better. And they're like, here's $1 billion. Go right ahead.
And if we can, right, I feel like we're going to be naming films in all of this where we're like, hey, let me have this one, right? And I feel like if we can just go around the circle and just be like, hey, you get one. Let the Spirit be my one. And I'm just gonna blow this now, right? Like, just let the Spirit be my one. I will agree with you guys for everything else.
I think I would go ahead, Pat.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think I'd like to add the caveat that the older I've gotten, the more I've appreciated the attempts because they get us to where we're at now for like Endgame.
Fair.
So if you don't get the Dolph Lundgren Punisher and the mistakes that brought, we don't get the Punisher Netflix series.
Why the hell didn't you come to me for help?
I didn't need your help.
You're sick, you know that, don't you? And what the fuck do you call 125 murders in 5 years, huh?
Work in progress.
You see, what worries me the most is that you've been in a hole so long that it's become home.
Maybe that's what I'm supposed to be.
Because people aren't willing to take a chance. So I appreciate the effort by a lot of these movies. And I've watched them. I found some of them popcorn entertainment. Like, I didn't walk away thinking like, oh, this is amazing, or this is, some kind of is going to be in the analogs of filmmaking. But someone tried. A crew got ready. People got paid. Something was made, and so I would give it that soft cushion of like, hey, they tried. Now compared to other movies in the same genre, I'm going to be like, this is trash. I'm going to tear it apart. But just know that it's done with friendly gloves, I guess, when I tear it apart.
Okay. I appreciate that.
They all tried really hard. Got it. Okay.
I would argue that some of them didn't. And I think that that's going to be the case on a few of them. I definitely see your point, though. I think there's definitely times where it's like they went in with the best intentions. But as we know, the road to hell is laid with best intentions. So
the road to Catwoman is laid with best intentions. Halle Berry really wanted that to work. She really, it was her thing, and it just...
My argument for Catwoman, and I kind of want to save this until the end, because I feel like Catwoman will be the culmination of what we are going to be talking about today. But just Kareem nodding his head.
Very much so.
I'm going to throw this out there. Benjamin Bratt as your love interest, when you're looking like Halle Berry looked like in that film. How? How did we? Although I 100%.
Benjamin Bratt was a pool.
Yeah.
You haven't seen the old Law and Order episodes, man.
Well, I appreciate.
He's looking pissa.
I appreciate the inclusion of having a POC person be an actual love interest. I love that. But also, man, Benjamin Bratt, and then you have him play basketball, and then you have the both of them play basketball.
Who? Me and her?
And did we not learn from Daredevil? Did we not learn?
Well, no, because that was before Daredevil, wasn't it?
Was it before Daredevil?
Yeah, I think Catwoman was before Daredevil. But also, I think a little movie called Miss Congeniality would disagree with your Benjamin Bratt hating, okay?
I was going to have to, I have to side with Ken on this. He was a pool back then.
But yeah, Benjamin Bratt.
I apologize, but didn't Benjamin Bratt also play basketball in Doctor Strange?
Yes, he did. Is that his writer? He's like, keep writing scenes where I get to play basketball.
It's his green M&Ms. It's his green M&Ms. That's it.
Yeah. God. I need at least one scene where I get to, because then he's like, oh, but then I keep the wardrobe, I keep my gear. He's working the system. He's like, I know how to do this.
Yeah.
Okay. I want a new workout gear. You're gonna pay for it. I'm gonna walk home with it.
I'm getting those pumps.
Yeah.
Getting some pumps right now. Also, Daredevil came out the year before Catwoman.
Oh, thank God.
Wait.
Yeah.
Really?
We did not learn.
Daredevil's 03, Catwoman's 04.
Okay, so they were in production. So they
around the same time, probably.
Yeah.
Okay, but also to be clear though, Daredevil didn't have basketball. They were just on a playground.
It was a playground scene.
It
was a playground scene.
It was just as choreographed as the basketball scene was.
Yeah,
none of that was natural. None of that was acted very well on anybody's part.
At least with the Seesaw, there are no rules, right? Yeah. There's a lot of there was a lot of traveling and a lot of fouls in that basketball scene. At least there are no rules on a Seesaw.
All right, I can give you that. Yeah, you're right. The Seesaw gave him a little bit of leeway, but it was, again, all just poorly acted, poorly choreographed, and in no way added any. It was literally, for both movies, 4.5 minutes that added nothing to either plot.
It gave us the line in our podcast, "No rules on a seesaw." That's pretty good. That's giving us something.
It's giving us the
Is
name of
that
the
our new
episode,
word?
No
right?
rules,
I mean, that's
yeah.
that's
Yeah, I
it.
think
Also-
so. Yeah, it's on a seesaw.
Prison rules on a seesaw.
If we're gonna look at, like, once again, you're right. Like, Catwoman gets credit for things like having a diverse love interest. The opposite end then is Daredevil, who then cast the whitest woman possible. Said, "Oh, you're Greek. Go. Just say your name. Say your name. Sounds dumb. Perfect. Keep moving with it."
Which I don't
Didn't
know.
even try.
It's also
Nope.
one of those things too where you look back now and you're like, and then there's that line from I'm about to say Vince Vaughn, but it's oh god, my brain is jello. I can't remember his name.
We're just gonna
Wait,
say,
what are you talking about?
He plays Happy Hogan in the Marvel movies.
Oh,
He plays
Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau. Thank you.
That
It,
is
his
fine.
line of like electronachos sounds like a Mexican dish or something. That's like
Yeah.
I'm like, is that really the line that was in the script? They kept that. They've made several passes over and they're like, no, leave that in. That's
We
for the
have
fans.
to.
I
As-
think what they thought was we have a black kingpin. That is our diversity limit. Everything else has to be white.
Okay,
Oh,
here's
We
the
gave
issue
one.
though.
I don't think you're wrong on the studio's thought process.
Jon Favreau was also in two things that I very much love. Number one is obviously he's the person who brought us The Mandalorian.
He's
right?
also in The Mandalorian.
And also in The Mandalorian, right? But number two, a little known movie called The Replacements with Keanu Reeves is one of my favorite sports
Oh, God.
films for no damn discernible reason.
Orlando Jones, excuse me. There's
Keanu
multiple
Reeves.
reasons.
Keanu
There's
Reeves is the
Keanu
reason.
Reeves, Orlando
the Hack?
Jones, the Hack.
Gene Hackman,
Heck?
no one talks about.
Okay, so Lex Luthor, John Wick. I mean, we're good right there.
Orlando
God,
Jones.
Yeah, we're
Orlando
Osmosis
Jones.
Jones.
Like I thought no, Osmosis Jones is Chris Rock, but Orlando
you're
Jones
right.
is from like Evolution and a couple other movies as well. But like, there's no
A
superhero.
funny character actor.
Yeah. Mr.
Sorry.
Nancy.
That's true.
Did anybody
American
watch
Gods.
American Gods?
Yep.
No, I haven't yet.
I haven't seen it.
I watched a few episodes. I read through the whole book, and when I found out that he was Mr. Nancy, I was like, oh my god, I can't wait for this, right? I loved him in it, and then all the drama. But anyway,
He had in scene
Okay.
1, he had this fantastic. You know what? I'm not going to say anything. He has a very fantastic scene where it's kind of a flashback to him, his version getting to America, and it's very powerful and intense. And he just does such a fantastic job.
Time a man got fucked. Now, how is that for a story? Because that's the story of black people in America. Shit, you all don't know you black yet. You think you just people. Let me be the first to tell you that you are all black. The moment these Dutch motherfuckers set foot here and decided they white, and you get to be black, and that's the nice name they call you, let me paint a picture.
see, because now so the last movie that we mentioned was The Replacements. Not a bad film, quite a good film. But are we going to be doing the Tom Hanks, like Kevin Bacon 6 Degrees, to where we take an actor and we just keep naming a bad comic book film until we get back to Catwoman at this point?
It is called Tangential Giant, so
Yeah.
feel free to go off on any tangent you want.
Gene Hackman outright refused to shave his head for Lex Luthor, and he's like, screw it, I'm just gonna play him like this. Nobody's gonna notice, right? And of course, the first two Superman films I very much love.
Yeah.
The other two Superman films we're not allowed to talk about because we set it to 20 years on this one.
Man.
Yeah, well, I mean,
A smart play.
as a Superman fan, I didn't mind his interpretation of Lex. I feel like there's nothing inherent about a bald Lex really
Yeah.
that changes his character.
But we could talk about Superman Returns.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Can we
okay.
though?
Yeah, we can.
Oh,
Kareem,
God.
I would like to know your feelings about that particular take on Superman, please.
Not good. Not good at all.
I'm so mad. I'm so
Bring
mad
it
right now.
It's not that bad. I don't think Superman's Returns is that bad. That isn't one where I say the best intentions were, they had the best intentions and it just didn't come together.
I appreciate Brandon Routh as an actor. He's done a lot of fun stuff. And there's just a bad script and planning there where they're like, we're going to make the character Superman watch Lois Lane from up in the sky with X-ray vision, creepily watching the house. Like it's just like even at the time, like we talk about a lot of this stuff as a matter of like, oh, with hindsight, yeah, that's creepy. Like not hindsight, day one in the theater, that's creepy. Yeah. Like there's moments in the film that I still got, like I still enjoyed. Like I got chills when he saves that plane. Like spoilers for Superman Returns. But the fact that,
how dare you, Ken? How dare you? People haven't seen it yet.
I know. I'm sorry, everyone. But there's so many other things there where it's like he doesn't throw a punch in the entire movie for the most part. So there's that.
Okay. Isn't that the one? Isn't that what you guys wanted? The anti-Zack Snyder?
Okay, you know what? We're not even starting on that, Kareem.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Okay.
Throwing a little Kindle out there for you guys.
My whole problem.
Start the fire.
No, we're going to though. We are starting that.
Yeah.
My whole problem with Superman Returns is another white man gets away with 5 years of child support.
Go back and not baby daddy.
Yeah.
And Argue gets it.
Yeah. See?
Well, now what's he going to pay in Krypton crystals?
But I don't know, man. How do you build a whole fortress and you don't got money? That's all I'm saying.
I think Lex solved that pretty quickly by just jamming crystals into things, going, now I own this land I can't grow anything on. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Very
and there's still the logic that also Kevin Smith put out there of like, wait, because of his powers, he took away Lois's memory, so she doesn't know who the father is. So she's like, wait, I don't remember us being together, and yet I have a super kid. What did you do, Superman? And like, whoa, okay, there's so many questions there that it gives you that you're like, oh, as soon as I ask it, I need to reevaluate this movie. The performances of Brandon Routh, I definitely I put a pin in it because he's not the worst. He's doing the best he can, and also I like Sam Huntington as Jimmy Olsen. I thought he's a lot of fun.
Oh, I'll give you that. Yeah. All right.
I think I'm gonna have to side with Ken on this, saying that there were elements that could have worked. And again, I don't know what's left on the editing bay that would maybe help explain a lot of the stuff that were, what I feel are plot holes. So I'll give it that caveat. But there, Brandon Routh was good. I even, as now we've seen hindsight, Kevin Spacey's a creep, but in that performance as the cartoon version of Lex that he played, I didn't mind. I think his end goal was stupid. Like
he did bang that old lady just to get all of that money.
I didn't think like, oh, let me have radiated islands that I can't live on.
Yeah.
I'm like, what was the point of this? It seemed really dumb.
So
go ahead, Pat.
Sorry,
it's a land scam again. That's the thing. It's a land scam again for the third time.
But at least Gene Hackman wanted land that you could live on and use. He wanted beachfront property.
Stocks may rise and fall. Utilities and transportation systems may collapse. People are no damn good, but they will always need land, and they'll pay through the nose to get it. Remember, my father said, land. Right.
This Lex wanted literally mounds of radiated land that no one could live on. Just so you islands by
people would live on it, just not Superman, and thus like criminals can be like, "Hey, come live on a planet."
Anything on the land? There is no food source.
I can't grow anything outside of my apartment. Doesn't mean I don't want to own an apartment.
I mean, something outside your apartment.
He really didn't think about like the logistics and the import export.
No.
There was a lot of logistics that didn't come into play in that film. But
I'm just saying, like, what's he gonna sell it for? Like, you saw what it turned into.
Yeah,
it wasn't like this was like, oh, I'm gonna make a beach island out of it and then sell it to other rich guys, and that's how I'm gonna recoup the billions that I lost or whatever. He's
just making new Metropolis. Like, let's call this part Metropolis. It's good right here. Let's call it that. It's fine. It'll keep growing. We'll get through probably Oklahoma. We'll stop then. That's all me.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, with Ken, I think there were pieces that could have been put together better. I wasn't a fan of the overall end product. And as you said, I still like to see a Superman that punches stuff because that seems to be one of his more visible qualities. And we got none of that.
Now,
Well, it's a similar problem they have with the Hulk. Like you have the first Eric Bana Hulk where they can't find something for him, an adversary for him. So they literally made
Poodles.
a gamma poodle that he popped like a balloon, and then like a pit bull as well. And then his dad was Zizzax. It's a whole, or Zorby Man. It's a whole thing. Like they couldn't find a good villain. Whereas like Superman Returns, it's like it's goes this way, but then Man of Steel is a deep overcorrection. So it's like you guys can't find. Again, they set the bar too high because you had Zod, Ursa, and Non back in Superman 2. Like after that, like how do you move forward?
We also just didn't need that much Russell Crowe. We don't need that much Russell Crowe in like anything. All right.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to argue that. We're also we're moving from the Bryan Singer Kevin Spacey movie onto Man of Steel, so it's like you're really making certain steps forward, anyways. I guess. So
I do have a question though regarding this, because as we discuss it, it does seem like basically Jesse Eisenberg looked at the worst qualities of Gene Hackman Lex Luthor and the worst qualities of Kevin Spacey Lex Luthor and said, I'm just going to merge those together. That's going to be my take on Lex. That way I'm the worst one and everyone knows it. And then I blow everyone out of the water.
Well, I think that's part and parcel. I think you're right with that. I also think that, sadly enough, I think his actual personality is the worst parts of both Lex. Like, I think he is the emo version of Michael Cera, who was already emo to begin with. Oof. And he can only play himself in every movie, which is a sarcastic asshole. It only worked for him in the Facebook movie because they're portraying a sarcastic asshole. But if you watch every other movie he's in, he literally plays the same character, and it's everyone else around him dragging him through a movie. So like Woody Harrelson in Zombieland, even Kristen Stewart in their spy agent movie thing, and that's asking a lot for her to drag somebody.
How did this happen? I don't know, but I'm like freaking out all over the place, babe. I have a lot of anxiety about this.
Just see movies and it's like people are just dragging him along because he's probably the worst part of every movie.
I mean, Zombieland, I did enjoy his performance in, but I'll give you every other thing you mentioned. Like I didn't see Squid and Whale, but I'm sure you're right.
What was other than his voice narration? I felt like Emma Stone, Abigail, what's her name, and Woody Harrelson were the things that you were looking to see in every scene. Like I didn't care if he was in a scene. Really, he didn't add anything to any scene.
That's fair.
Like one of the more iconic scenes is Woody Harrelson crying with the money. It's also Emma Stone robbing him. Like either things. Can you pull a scene that he's iconic in that movie?
No, not off the top of my head. No, I mean that's. I'm just saying, like I didn't find him as abrasive in that movie as the other films you mentioned. That was my takeaway.
Fair
but
enough.
no, you do have a point. Like Emma Stone definitely shines brighter there. Woody Harrelson, as well as Abigail Breslin.
Breslin, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Breslin, yeah. Like they're definitely. I do enjoy their moments a lot more. So.
And that's why I felt like what happened with him in Batman versus Superman is that he wasn't a threat, or he wasn't as prominent as a physical presence or even a cinematic presence as your Ben Affleck Batman or your what's his name, Superman.
Henry Cavill,
yeah. And you need a gravitas. You need someone to anchor those two as well. Even if he's not physically stout like them, he needs to have at least a menacing plan.
Bruce Wayne meets Clark Kent. I love it. I love bringing people together. How are we?
Lex.
Hello. Good. Hi. Hello. Lex, it is a pleasure. Ow. Wow. That is a good grip. You should not pick a fight with this person.
It makes you go like, oh shit, like this guy's a danger.
I mean, I think they attempted that with the story. Like, oh, he put pee on the senator's thing. I guess it was supposed to land harder than it did, but I'm like, it didn't land for me. I think that they thought they attempted it, but I don't think it came across as strongly as they wanted. I was too busy thinking about how the fact that Lex Luthor paid a graphics designer to create the logos for all the superheroes, like stuff like that's where my brain went. Like he's like, I got these files. Why does Aquaman have a logo? So I was then when he put P on the senator's desk, I was less than.
Yeah, now, that was very bad.
That's the most Lex thing in the movie, though, because I could 100% see Lex Luthor creating logos for superheroes, trademarking them, and then making money off of them without them being able to do anything because they'd have to reveal their secret identity to go to court.
That's okay.
That's the most Lex thing out there.
And that would have been a much better plan than anything that he did in Batman vs Superman.
It's fair.
Yeah.
Oh,
because again, I think I had a conversation. Was it with you guys and Cole? I was explaining that the Lex in the Supergirl show, which is the guy from 2.5 Men.
Oh, John Cryer.
John Cryer.
Yeah,
he's Lex. He's Lex Luthor Jr.
Yeah, he has plan upon plan, which I think is indicative of a Lex that we miss with the Batman vs Superman version of Lex. Like he didn't really have a secondary plan that would push everything else. He didn't have an ultimate end to anything. It was just like, I'm gonna fuck with these two guys because I'm bored.
Yeah, that was he. I mean, he wanted because I'm thinking of the Crisis episodes, and he wanted to take down Superman. That was his whole push. Yeah. Like he just wanted to no, I'm taking Superman down a notch, and then that was his whole plan. At least he went for that. I don't know.
So then is that, because to me that is the worst modern movie with Superman, like the DC extended universe. That is the worst of the worst in terms of movies that are focused on Superman. Like even Justice League is I find to be garbage, but Batman versus Superman is just so terrible in my mind, from just going into it, being excited, having every hope and dream just crushed with the word Martha, whole kit and caboodle.
What does that mean? Why did you say that name?
I mean, as far I guess I'm trying to think of, because as far as if we're only speaking to, that's the thing too that in some of our notes did get mixed up a bit, is that if we are speaking specifically to theatrical live action releases. In some of the notes, there's a little bit of crossover, so I thought we should clarify as well. Is that if we're speaking of strictly live action releases, theatrical releases, I guess you don't have much to pick from, so that's probably the worst. Because then, like, there's stupid points where Superman just stands around, let stuff happen. It's a very disjointed film that felt like it was created by committee of like, okay, let's put all these pieces together and this makes a film. And they're like, in the end, they're like, oh no, they don't fit together. It's a broken puzzle piece. Like,
yeah.
So just to clarify, of the Superman movies of the last 20 years, which would include Superman Returns through Justice League, I guess.
Yeah.
And this is just speaking strictly on Superman.
Justice League Snyder Cut.
Justice League Snyder Cut.
Thank you.
Fair enough. Of those, we're saying that Batman vs Superman is the worst of those representations of Superman over the last 20 years.
I really, really hate Man of Steel because he just lets his father die for no good reason. There's a lot more inherently wrong, and that affects the Superman we then have later on. So it's like, I would still say Man of Steel corrupts the character at a deeper rooted point, thus giving us a crappier Superman down the line.
I think the issue for me with Superman media, especially with film, right, is that I think you have this great person playing Superman, and you have this, and imagine them in the eye of a storm, right? But then the storm that's happening around them is just garbage. It's a garbage story that's happening around them. I have no problem with Henry Cavill. I have no problem with Brandon Routh, right? Brandon Routh was a Christopher Reeve light. Like, let's be very honest about it, right? And I love Christopher Reeve as Superman because it's nostalgic and I feel very close to it, right? I think not only does Henry Cavill Superman give me some fun in theaters, also just the fact that how much he loves freaking playing This Superman, I love the enthusiasm that comes to it. I think the disconnect is the story that they are placing they're placing around the Superman that we have, right? I think Superman in comics has done a very, very good job about growing with the time frame and the ages, right? You have the sort of 80s reboot. You have Mark Waid's 2001's Birthright as well, which was a little bit too Smallville for me, but also everything outside of the Smallville stuff I very much loved. Turned him into a vegetarian, which I was like, okay, I can see that, I guess. But yeah, I just think we have this incredible character, and we just keep putting garbage stories around said incredible character.
He's a hard character to write. He's a hard character to write for, if you're looking at it from a movie perspective, it's because of the way, to me, studios think about how these movies should be structured. You have to have a big bad. The big bad has to be a physical threat to the actual hero. And so at that point, you're just trying to find a bigger, better Superman to fight Superman, or someone that has a cheat code like a kryptonite knife and 73 ways to get him in a position to stab him with said knife.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I also think that I think he's also sort of a character out of time now. I think it's going to be becoming increasingly hard to convey his attributes to a society that no longer is structured around his original intentions. That's my anecdotal opinion about it.
Go for it. Sorry.
No, please go ahead.
Well, I was going to move the topic, but please go ahead, dude.
I was just going to say the same argument we made about Captain America, and they've done a good job of modernizing him.
Mm-hmm. Well, Captain America is centered around war, which we'll always have.
In his creation, but the core of the character is still a lawful good character, and that's Superman. Superman is lawful good, and so is Captain America. Yes, the things that are draped over him is war and him being a tool of the government. There's definitely stories too where Superman is a tool of the government and defending the status quo, and then he has to ask himself, wait, do I agree with that? And where does that place him? And him knowing in his mindset at times he can see himself as an outsider, but even if the outside world doesn't see him as that. And so yeah.
I think we're having an issue with nobody is finding the right stories for Superman, right? Nobody's bearing their heart and soul into it and understanding that as a beacon, Captain America, we've established comes from war and the war effort, as opposed to where I think Superman stories will never go out of style, because I don't think hope will ever go out of style.
Well, here it's an S.
Right? Now, this is in stark contrast to how I feel about the Green Lantern, where now I know that the Green Lantern falls in this, right? It falls in the last one.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I pulled a list from, and I'll give credit to Screen Rants wrote one about 2 years ago, and they have the 15 worst. They titled the 15 worst comic book movie adaptations, and Green Lantern lands at 15. So
okay, thanks
for the segue.
I'm a podcaster, man. I'm going to get us back to it.
You know these things. Yeah.
Okay. So, with the Green Lantern mythos, I think there are incredible stories for a general audience to get to discover, right? But I think we're done with telling Hal Jordan stories. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
There's no one to apologize here. We all agree with you.
Yeah, no one's fighting you on this.
The fact that Hal Jordan hasn't moved into this sort of Kilowog sort of teaching and cautionary tales sort of story, to where I am the grizzled veteran. Please learn from my mistakes, and I will teach you through these mistakes as well. The fact that we don't have that from Hal Jordan is freaking insane to me. Instead, of course, I thought Ryan Reynolds did okay in it, right? Like, he was funny and charming like he was supposed to be. And on top of that, he meets the love of his life in this film, and him and Blake Lively are still married.
Worked out for him.
Yeah, worked out for him.
Didn't work out for us, though.
Yeah, did not work out for us. Did not work out for us, right?
This was a very expensive date.
But what the fact that we are just recycling Hal Jordan stories kills me on the inside.
But I think we understand exactly why that is, because there hasn't been a successful live action Green Lantern movie. Hollywood is definitely going to go, well, who's the most well-known Green Lantern? Hal Jordan. We're going to use him. He's the easiest one to start. He has a mythos that allows you to go.
And he's very, very white.
He's quite white.
That can't be. Come on.
I mean, no, because Alan Scott's gay now. You also have Jon Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
You have Guy Gardner, which you can't trust redheads at this point, right? Like, you can't.
That's a fair assessment. I can't argue that point.
I would say you've upset him because his lights are going on and off in the room. So
I know that's his power level. He's like a Dragon Ball character.
Yeah. You have Kyle Rayner, which I will argue a lot of artists have definitely portrayed him as Asian. And then you have Baz and Jessica?
Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz.
Okay, gotcha.
Well,
yeah, man.
What's the new Green Lantern's name from N.K. Jemisin's run?
The
comic. It's a great comic. It's a fantastic comic, but I can't remember her name.
It's from Far Sector.
Yeah.
Far Sector is the name of the comic. I won't know her name until I just pull it up.
Could you also is it Tai Pham that they did the YA Green Lantern for?
Mm-hmm. And included in their DC AAPI special, he has a new story in there as well.
Yeah. Now, first and foremost, the fact that we are not telling younger stories with Green Lantern Corps people, like, do you guys know what Explorers is?
I don't.
Okay. Explorers are basically like, if you want to become a police officer or a firefighter when you're a teenager, they set you up in like high school programs to where you can experience some of the things that you can do, right?
Mm-hmm.
How are we not having an Explorers program for Green Lanterns? That's number one. I'm going to throw that out there just so somebody that's more popular than me can tell that story, right?
Yeah.
But why are we still telling Hal Jordan stories?
I mean, there is a Teen Lantern that Bendis built in the recent Young Justice series. So I believe I was about to say she's Peruvian, but she might be Ecuadorian. But there is a new Teen Lantern in the works, and she's actually working alongside Sojourn or Joe Moulin. That's the Far Sector one in the current Green Lantern comics. So they did introduce a new younger Green Lantern as well. So that's definitely something that they're building towards. But it's not as in depth as you're bringing to the point.
I think our problem really stems from what Pat said earlier, though, is that you have to establish Green Lantern, and they did a really shitty job with the Ryan Reynolds version to then explore younger Green Lanterns, the entire Lantern Corps to begin with, different versions of the Lanterns, things like that. So without having a baseline movie that you can say like, okay, now we can have a jumping off point for everything else that'd be even much cooler. You still need to nail Hal, and you still need to nail the most recognized version of the Green Lantern before. I mean, how are you going to explain the Lantern Corps without, first establishing him as, your conduit to everything else?
I mean, with that argument though, we did have a better, there was a time period where the Jon Stewart Green Lantern was the more known Green Lantern.
I meant for movies though.
No,
but
put
a black guy as the lead. Come on, don't be stupid.
I mean, there's that argument.
That's dark, Kareem. That's dark.
Says the black guy on the podcast. Come on.
Yeah, but there is. I mean, that was in the cartoons, so that was through the animated series. There were people who, when they saw the Green Lantern movie, they're like, "Wait, I thought Green Lantern was black." So there was a time period where they could have made that jump, and they still chose to go back. And then part of that also stems from the problem of that when you bring in a new creator, like we got Jeff Johns back in to kind of guide DC, they use very much like, I want Barry back because I love Barry, and I want Hal back because I love Hal. It's like you're doing a disservice to all the characters, all these legacy characters that have grown and become new characters. You're now cutting their stories off and then going back and starting all over again.
And again, I side with you, but I wouldn't have as much of a problem if their love for these characters was expressed on the screen as well. Like, you know, it's one thing to love a character, but then to create whatever it was you did with Ryan Reynolds, it's like, well, what the hell? I thought you liked this character.
Like, just in general, if you're going to try and get, if your plan is to build, because they wanted to do basically a Green Lantern franchise that would have expanded to other Green Lanterns. Like, that was the plan. There's so much weight there. It doesn't help that you use an entity as the first villain and then kind of crap all over the concept of the entity. Would have been much.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, that doubles back to something else we were talking about earlier is, again, how do you make a good movie? Part of that is the adversary you're facing. In this question, the adversary should not be a giant kryptonite island, and the adversary should not be a glowing yellow cloud or a purple cloud in the Fantastic Four. There should be a physical representation of that adversary you're facing, not gamma puppies, but a person who is a true adversary. And so, I mean, trying to loop back into the idea of like, what should we focus on to count as a good superhero movie is a good villain. You need someone who's worthwhile. You need a Jigsaw for the Punisher to fight, not just industrial corporation of the military. There needs to be something there for you to have a focus on. And I think that's one thing that when your movie is Superman versus Batman, you're like, oh, but that's not, I want to root for Superman, but then I also want to root for Batman. So that muddies the waters a bit.
Hey,
so
pick a side.
Yeah.
I think it only muddies the water if you can't give both a good reason for the fight to begin with. There's a way to root for.
No.
What's up?
And they didn't.
No.
It was I think
we're on.
What if he goes evil? He's never showed us any reason he would have. What if he goes evil?
Well, now hold on, Ken. I believe your argument is that he was kind of evil in Man of Steel.
I mean, yes, and that's because they were stupid, and they're like, oh,
he's got you.
Yeah, he's got me there. That's fine
because it's poor
writing. And then he continues to pour writing in the second film. But then you also have Alfred there who's like, hey, you need to stop doing the superhero stuff. By the way, you should go fight Superman. No, you shouldn't. That's the worst two ideas. You stop being Batman, but go stop
Before
Superman.
you do that, before you stop.
Yeah, before you stop.
Go kick that guy's ass.
Let's all be honest. Alfred was gunning for the money. He was hoping that Batman wasn't going to come back.
Just going to live on an island.
Yeah.
I just watched The Dark Knight again, and there's a scene in it where Bruce Wayne takes the whole like Russian ballet, and then like that's how he like gets out of the country. And then it was Alfred's job to just like lather and lotion all of these beautiful Russian ballerinas. And like they kind of make a joke of it, but then I thought, holy crap, Alfred needs a break. Thank you for giving him a break on this one.
Well, but he's pissed he has to do it. Like his last comment on is like, how do you say get your own bloody sunscreen in Russian? Like he's actively
You look tired, Alfred. You'll be all right without me?
You can tell me the Russian for apply your own bloody suntan lotion.
I mean, it's fine. I don't think he's that upset, Pat. Like, I don't think.
I mean, it's better than sewing up bullet wounds.
Yes.
It's definitely ahead of that.
Well, I also felt like that was some kind of influencer's like pitch for that scene, because it doesn't really make a lot of sense that, you know, these are dancers for the Russian ballet that wouldn't have handlers that do that kind of stuff already.
No, he's so rich he bought the handlers.
So why not have the handlers do it? And then he fired them?
Because like Jason said, he wants the handlers to he wants Alfred to have a break and have a good time and, you know, get his rocks off.
Whatever, man.
Just buy him a prostitute?
We're not here to yuck anybody's yums.
It's true. Fair. I have a question, because we've crapped on a lot of DC IP so far.
Okay.
But a question that came up to my mind when we're talking about villains. And would you say a quality villain is a villain that has
a name that starts with abomination? Yep.
Yep, 100%. Has the powers of almost every hero shown within a movie and the ability maybe to destroy the indestructible.
I'm sorry. You're a bit vague there.
I'm being vague on purpose because I want to talk about X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Oh.
Because
I hate this whole opening.
So why didn't you just say? Why didn't you just want to say you hate Ryan Reynolds?
Because I don't blame Ryan Reynolds for any of this. I don't blame it at all.
You should.
Him
and his aviation vodka. Damn it.
You know who I
blame? It's first off, it's gin. As I'm drinking bourbon while
I say who here would have gotten that wrong? Let's be clear about that. But carry on. I would have corrected you about Baja Blast, so it's okay.
Thank you. Or Mountain Dew. You would have corrected me about Mountain Dew.
Baja Blast is a type of Mountain Dew, actually.
Oh,
that was
I walked right into that.
On this list that we're referring to, it is number 5. So again, thanks for the segue, Pat.
I would make the argument that it may be the worst comic book movie of all time, even above something like X-Men Origins Wolverine. I don't know if I've ever been more upset walking out of a comic book movie than that one. I was pissed I paid money to see it. I am still pissed that I paid money to see it. I get upset when it appears on television. Like, how is this still happening? I think of canceling my cable every time it pops up. It is.
For a quick reference, though, can you give us a breakdown for the audience, a breakdown of the movie? You got 30 seconds.
Think of a pile of shit. Done. X-Men Origins Wolverine is the origin story of Wolverine. It starts out fantastic. The movie starts with basically Wolverine and Sabretooth going through different wars throughout time because they both don't age because of their healing factor.
No. It starts in the Canadian wilderness where there's a young boy who's running to his mother's side. That's where it starts. Like, that's the thing too, like where I do go back and like, oh, but the first 10 minutes of that movie is great. Like, no. The first 5 minutes of that movie's that the Wolverine's born to a privileged household and he's a soft boy. That's the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Then it jumped forward about maybe 5 minutes in. Then you get to the like Wolverine and Sabretooth just kicking ass through time. Just, this a duo of badassness. Then you get like it starts low, goes high, goes low.
That's it. It starts low, goes high for 2 minutes in the opening credits, and then just keeps cratering because there is no bottom. It is truly an atrocious and terrible film. Everything from what they did to the Weapon X program and what they did with Sabretooth through. I'm sorry. My gas is a little flabbered at this point, but I'm just picking out scenes in my head, like all of his interactions with the Blob. Everything
that was that was a lot of fat shaming that I was not. That was not great.
That's problematic.
No.
And then you have Agent X, who's just like, I'm good as a shot. I'm Agent X, which is And then Silver Fox is the sister of Emma Frost. There is so much there that just doesn't make a lot. Like, just we want all these things that somehow weave them together. There's about 10 minutes of that movie that's good, and that's like in total, and it's an hour 30 minutes of pain?
I think it's like 6 months. Pretty sure it's about a 6-month movie. Obviously the most egregious sin that everyone points to is what they did to Deadpool, sewing his mouth shut, making him just like a mutant Frankenstein. And that is not fantastic, clearly. Pretty atrocious. The thing that upsets me most about the movie is that we have all of this established canon when it comes to the X-Men. And then suddenly we're shoehorning in this like, oh, and there's Professor X and young Cyclops and young Emma Frost. All of this trash that they just try to throw in to kind of connect all the films. And I think it directly leads to all of the problems that with later X-Men movies, where they keep just like, we're just gonna make this movie. We should just not connect it to anything. No, we're gonna try and shoehorn this back into the main X-Men movie timeline that we've created. This is kind of the start of that. Let's just kind of jam this in here, this there. Like, how many Emma Frost have there been now? 2, 3 in the Fox X-Men universe?
2 different ones, 3 different iterations of it.
Oh, it's true, because she did come back in the beginning of the first. She was in First Class, but then she's also in the second First Class, which I don't remember what that. Days of Future Past.
She's a corpse.
Days of Future Past, yeah.
Maybe that's part 2.
Yeah,
but she is a young woman in the initial Wolverine. I'm guessing that would have happened about the 70s, I think, the X-Men Origins Wolverine, 70s, 80s. And then she's a full-grown woman in the 60s in X-Men First Class. But they still try, like, let's just jam this in there.
Does X-Men Origins take place in, like, the 90s or 2000s? I don't think there was anything that showed that it was the 70s, though.
But it has to exist, like, it just, in the idea that there is a timeline and that time progresses, it's before he gets his claws, his metal claws, so it has to exist at least X amount of years prior to that. So there's nothing that timestamps it aside from the wars that he participates in, but there's a lot going on in that movie that they just don't seem to care about. Also, the fact that they tie William Stryker then into from the second movie of I was about to say not Last Stand,
United,
X-Men
United, yeah.
X2,
so that's,
like the roller coaster.
I mean, because that means he hasn't aged in 20 years.
Which
and that
Wolverine
Emma Frost and Cyclops, that would put Emma Frost and Cyclops at what, roughly late 30s, early 40s?
It makes no sense whatsoever. And it just upsets me every time. And even just the little things, like just the cinematography, the choices they made in terms of how they're presented and costume. Everything about it upsets me. It's a garbage film. If I don't see it again, it'll be.
No, I agree with you. It's pretty bad. I'm trying to think if I can pull out the main plot to see if, like, any of the strings that come with that
Wolverine
actually any good.
Is Sabretooth William Stryker wants him to put adamantium on his bones to make him the ultimate weapon, even though he couldn't control him the first time, but we're going to be able to control him this time, and takes his girlfriend hostage to do it. But his girlfriend's actually kind of in on it, but then she's not in on it. And then they use Sabretooth to capture the girlfriend, and then a bunch of crap happens.
Well, then, and part of that too is, like you said, the mind control part, because they installed the controlling device into Deadpool where he's like, walk, attack, dance. And like, there's all those features that needed to be in there that like don't make a damn bit of sense. So it's
you would think for someone who wants to get rid of mutants, you don't make the ultimate mutant.
Also, like, you didn't install the control chip before you gave him the special claws.
Oh man, they're expensive. If it doesn't stick, we can't waste it.
Clearly, like the adamantium, which has clearly been one of the rarest things from the beginning of the movie, when we sent someone into Africa to do a bunch of crazy stuff to steal a meteorite, which would end up being adamantium, which then it could also be questioned, is that supposed to be vibranium? But all that is like, we got to get the adamantium, but we don't put the control device in until after.
Is adamantium the white people name for vibranium?
So say it. Say what? Say the word you want to say. I'm not saying that I want to say it. I'm just saying that I can't. Sure you can. Say it. Say it right now. I will say it with you.
Okay, this is hypocritical. You know we can't.
Sure you can. This is America. Both of you. Say it.
Basically.
Oh my God, no, think about it though, right? Because did they Christopher Columbus add a vibranium on this one?
Oh my God,
that's
awesome. I like the terminology there that Christopher Columbus did.
Fantastic.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to put a flag on this metal and call it.
It does really sound like we don't have rights to vibranium. Well, let's just use adamantium and do the same thing. This is fine.
No, I think that I think adamantium is just Columbus vibranium. That's basically it now.
Yeah.
Hingle McCringleberry. Hey, this is Ken. You can find me online at Ken Rollo, as well as my own podcast at Comic Banter. We talk about comic book associated topics usually. Check us out.
I don't have really anything to introduce. My name is Patrick, and I am on this podcast, and that's all I care to bring up. I got nothing else I would promote or anything else that way. Just here for this. I love comics and sports and nerd stuff and talk a lot of crap on a lot of things.
I'm Kareem. You can find me at Mindhead1 on Twitter because the guy who's sitting on Mindhead won't give it to me. So hopefully we can dox his ass and I can get it back.
Oh no! I'm referred to as JPG. I am a pop culture critic and geek educator. I work in the podcasting space, the tabletop RPG. Oh my gosh, the tabletop RPG space, and podcasting, tabletop RPGs. What else do I do, Ken? What else do I do?
Occasional live streams.
Yes,
and podcast management.
Live streams, all of that. Yes. Oh, and public speaker and all that. So yeah. So you can find me personally at JPG. That's JAEPEAGEE. And you can find me I'm sure I'm going to talk about this during the show, but you can find me on a bunch of actual play RPG streams, all of that stuff too.